Hello everybody, my name is Courtney and welcome to my channel where I talk about books that I love, books that I like, and everything in between. Today I have a top 5 list of my favorite fairy tale. Courtney! You are a booktuber now. You have to do your July wrap-up. No excuses. Alright. Hello everybody, my name is Courtney and welcome to my channel where I talk about books I love, books I like, and everything in between. Today I am doing my July wrap-up because holy crap, it is August. The month just like flew by and I'm going a little bit crazy, but anyways. So I have only just recently started to like really read a lot again. I was focusing a lot more on my writing for a few months there because I am also a writer. So I kind of put reading on the back burner, and I also got into a huge reading slump, which if you are a reader, then you know what that feels like, where you just can't get into a book. You can't give books the undivided attention that they need. This is what my dog does when she wants attention. Are you gonna keep me company while I do my booktube? Alright, so July wrap-up. Courtney, get a hold of yourself. Focus! I also told myself that I wasn't really going to do like negative reviews on here. I might mention a couple books that I DNF, but otherwise I am going to only be doing things that I like. The reason for that is because I am also an author, and so I just feel like there's a little bit, I don't ever want to talk badly about other authors. So keeping on topic, maybe he's hi. Staying on topic, this month, last month, the month of July, the books that I read are a little scattered. Let's get into it. So the first book that I have on my list, not necessarily the first book that I read in July, but the first book that I wrote on my list, is Latte, Darling by S.J. Tilly, and is number 2 in the Darling series. I am not usually a contemporary romance person. I like my dragons, I like my fairies, I like my aliens. So this was not a normal genre that I wanted to read, but I do also like to expand and read things that I wouldn't normally read. And usually when it comes to contemporary romance, I go into it saying, I really don't want to read this isn't going to be good, I'm not going to like it, it's contemporary, there's no magic, there's no spaceships, there's none of that like exciting stuff that I usually enjoy. But then I end up really getting invested in the story and invested in the characters, even if there's no action, there's no guns, there's no explosions, but I still find myself being attached to the characters, and that's what happened in this book. Latte Darling is a small town age gap romance between a very small, very curvy female who is very inexperienced. She's in her early 30s, very inexperienced with dating. And she needs a date. She doesn't need a date, but she wants a date to her best friend's wedding. So she goes online to find a date, and it opens with her, you know, like in this coffee shop waiting for her date, kind of getting tipsy because she's nervous, and her date never shows up. In fact, the father of her date shows up. This very handsome, tattooed, 50-something-year-old, ginormous, like 6'6" dude, like biker status. I don't think he rides a bike, but he comes off that way. And he apologizes for the fact that his son stood her up. And then the book progresses between the two of them. It was just an adorable little, like I said, small town romance. I was super into it. I thought everything was super cute. Axel, the guy who I remember his name because I just read the book. He drives a nice car. He's scruffy. He owns his own like auto body shop or something. Axel's car, I don't know. And he's very protective. He's very possessive. The romance was steamy AF. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Is number 2 on the list is Heir of the Tide by Louise Shepard, and it is the first in the Villainous Heirs series, and it is a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Actually, I mean, it is a retelling, but it is also not actually about The Little Mermaid. It's about her daughter, and it is a romance between the daughter of the Little Mermaid and the son of the Sea Witch. I will talk about it in future videos because I do want to add it to a couple of other lists that I have planned for the future. It starts off like, honestly, I thought I was reading a young adult book the way it starts out. It's very like my tale was so beautiful and I wore this like colorful armor and the ocean city, the mermaid city was just pearlescent and there were pearls and colorful coral, and we all have our little familiars, which are animals that can talk to us. And I honestly was like, there's no way that this is 18 plus romance. But then the first moment where there is like adult content, I was like, damn, this is raunchy. There are some raunchy parts in this. So it kind of made my brain like bounce back and forth between like, is this an adorable teen romance or is this like raunchy adult romance? But all in all, I really enjoyed it. And I would absolutely recommend it to people who are into like fairy tale retellings. So I liked it. Again, more about that later. The next book that I read in July is called Raider's Treasure by Leann Ryans, and it is the first in the alpha. My notes, I did it wrong. My notes say Alpha Barbarians. I am pretty sure it's alpha because it is an Omegaverse. If you don't know what that is, I'll actually be releasing a video about that. Also, I have a lot planned for this channel. But if you don't want to wait for that, there are a lot of things out there telling you what the Omegaverse is. It is a genre of adult romance, and it doesn't have a whole lot of background about this world, I think because it was a novella or a short story. I honestly can't remember how short it was. I just know that it was a short story. It opens with this girl, I guess she is an Omega, and she was promised to somebody that she didn't really care about, but then these barbarians come and attack her village and basically kill everybody but collect all of the Omegas from the village. A few things that kind of happened in between, like during their travels, is kind of an enemies to lovers. But if you are at all familiar with the Omegaverse, you know that like Omegas tend to go into heat, and then Alphas are the only ones that can answer their sexual desires. So stuff happens between this Omega, who was supposed to be married off to this dude who I'm pretty sure dies in the very beginning, and it's about them. Like, she obviously hates him a lot, and he doesn't plan on claiming her or anything like that, but during their travels, things happen. She's an Omega, he's an Alpha, and the next book that I have on my list, and if you saw my previous video, then you already know this, but it was Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. I don't know if it's, the S might be silent. It might be, it might be Nascosta. I want to say Nascosta, but it might also be Nascosta because it's spelled Nascosta. Anyways, that's beside the point. So it is the first in the Cambric Creek series, and it is a monster romance between it is also a small town type of deal. This small town is filled with mythical creatures. It is really cute, and I said this in my last video, so if you haven't watched that yet, go watch it. Because I talk a lot about how adorable and utopian this like little town was, where this girl gets a job at a milking farm where they don't actually milk cows, they milk other things. I mean, like, without going entirely into the story, because I already dedicated a video to that, it is the love story between a minotaur and a human girl, and it is really cute. Definitely for people that like weird monster romance. Definitely not for everybody, but it was a decent read. I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was low angst, and yeah. The last one I have on my list, I actually think I might be adding this to like my top 10 romance books, and it is called The Maleficent Faerie, and it is by Rebecca F. Kenney, and it is number 2 in For Love of the Villain. These books are not technically connected, so you don't really have to read this series together. They are fairy tale retellings. You can tell that I've been trying to build a list of really good fairy tale retellings, and I think there's a cat trying to get into my room, and that startled the hell out of me because my door just started opening. So I can't talk today. The Maleficent Faerie is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it is about Malik, who is They call him the Void King. And he honestly reminded me of like a cross between Howl from Howl's Moving Castle and the Darkling from Shadow and Bone. He was kind of heretical, and this is a very religious society, and I actually thought that was really cool, where you have like these two warring nations, and he is the king of this nation. I don't remember the names or anything, and I don't even, if I could remember them, I couldn't pronounce them because I don't know how they're pronounced. But without getting too deep into it, because I do want to talk about this in another video later, he tries to kidnap the princess, aka Sleeping Beauty, Aurora, whatever. But her bodyguard, who was a fairy, kind of puts a glamour on herself to look like the princess, to basically get kidnapped in her place because she is her bodyguard and she wants to protect her. So Malik kidnaps the wrong person, and it is all about their relationship and how their relationship builds after he kidnaps her. And honestly, I really liked the dynamic between them, for one. And I really want to get into it, but this is not the video I want to get into it. But Malik, my goodness. So there were some kinks in this that you don't often, at least me, with the kind of books that I read. There were some things in here that I am not used to reading about, but I was so happy that I found a book to actually experience this in, because it's not like a lot of romance books. Again, the ones that I read, a lot of them are about like the males being very dominating and very, you know, alpha. And while Malik was that, there were certain submissive qualities about him that were just so sexy. And I will talk about it later. But again, the dynamic between them was very hot and also very deep. Like, they had this really deep emotional connection that kind of built throughout the book. And both of them had been through so much emotional trauma during the book or with events that preceded the book that they just kind of talk about during the story. And I just really liked it. I think, honestly, I haven't read too many fairy tale retellings yet, but I would be very surprised if I found one that I liked more than this, because at the moment, this is absolutely my favorite fairy tale retelling in a adult romance setting. That is all I have for you for July. So hopefully my list for August will be longer, but until then, that is my July wrap up. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me because I'm a very new channel. I plan to have new videos out every Tuesday and Friday. I will talk to you all next time. Bye!